Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am blessed today to have Olivia Marks here with me. Olivia is an entertainment reporter and content producer at Bauer Media. And she's also Olivia Colman's favorite. And I love that that is in your social media profiles everywhere and that she is not afraid to say that. But I am so excited to have Olivia here and to dive into her career and her journey. And I'm going to turn it over to her and let her introduce herself.
Hello, thank you for having me. So as Danielle said, I'm Olivia. I'm an entertainment reporter. So I do interviews with celebs when they're promoting their movies or series. And I'm just a massive fangirl. I'm obsessed with Olivia Colman, obsessed with Lady Gaga, I have many different obsessions, and yeah, I don't shy away from that.
I love it. And I just want to start with like, how does it feel to be Olivia Colman's favorite?
It feels amazing. Do you know what's so funny? When I played those clips out loud to like family members, I like my dad, he doesn't really care about
Right,
celebrities or stuff like this or
right.
interviews. So I was playing this clip on repeat to like hear what she was saying. He's like, how many times are you gonna play that? I'm like, every single day, probably for the rest of my life. Oh, but
It
no.
doesn't matter, Dad. I'm going to do it because it's fantastic.
And it's got to a point as well where it's like I've interviewed Olivia a few times. It's like I
Yeah,
can't keep on reminding her that she told me I'm her
I know.
favorite. I don't want to get to a point where I'm not her favorite. So
Right.
I feel like I don't know. Next time I see her, maybe I won't bring it up. But I know deep inside.
Yeah. It's just see if she says anything to you, if she just has any memory of it at all, and go from there kind of situation.
She's just the sweetest. I love her.
She is.
Love her.
She is. I want to just get started with how you got your start. Where is your beginning story, becoming a video journalist, content producer, all of these things?
Yeah, so I studied broadcast journalism at university. I went to the University of Leeds. I actually don't think they do that course anymore. I think it's just pure journalism now. And after that, I moved to Birmingham to work for a really small local TV station called Made in Birmingham TV, where I was basically having to do my own filming, own editing, filming myself, presenting, everything. And I'd drive in my car around the whole of the West Midlands to just go and report on
Right.
stories. It was
Right.
very hands-on. You had to do everything. So I stayed there for about over a year and a half. And then I moved to London to work in national news for ITN, who produced the news for ITV News, Channel 4 News, and Channel 5 News. So I worked in the newsroom for Channel 5 News. That was basically like helping reporters get their stories, getting last minute breaking stories on the day, planning stories ahead, lots of answering the phones, helping cameramen out, that sort of stuff. So I was there for a year and then I got this job where I work for Bauer Media. So they own lots of radio stations in the UK and also some magazines. And I didn't really know that jobs like this existed. Like I've been obsessed with pop culture and celebrities my whole life. I've been a Lady Gaga fan since as long as I can remember. So when this came along, I was like, wow, I can't believe that this is an actual job. Yeah, and I've been doing it for about 4.5 years.
That's incredible. And I think what's so incredibly unique about your style of interview is that you have such creative and questions that you don't typically hear reporters ask or journalists ask. How do you come up with your creative questions? Like you get really deep into whatever the movie is, the TV show, whatever it is, and kind of wrap it in a personal aspect as well. How do you come up with how you ask your questions?
So before I do an interview for something, I'll always watch the film or the series beforehand. And for me, it's just a case of watching that series or movie and trying to think of questions that are outside the box, but
Yeah.
also what people would actually be interested in. And also junkets are really hard. They're having so many journalists interview them, just like a conveyor belt of journalists all
Right.
day. So you want to keep it fresh and you want to kind of mix it up for them so the talent don't get bored.
Right.
So it's just, I don't know, about bringing something new that will excite them and also excite fans and also like me. Like I want to know the answers to these
Yeah.
questions as a fan myself as well.
Absolutely. Is there a time of the year where things are just absolutely insane for you, like a solid 3 months, or is it just the entire year where you're like, okay, we've got to pace ourselves because this is the craziness that is taking place?
Yeah, so I'd say that October's always really busy
Okay.
because we've got the London Film Festival
Yeah.
around that time every year. So that is just crazy. And there was one year where I was having to do it all by myself because my colleague wasn't around. And that was insane, but very fun. But it's long and it's hard. Like, you know, I think it was last year, I had loads of premieres and stuff every night. And sometimes there's more than one premiere a night.
Right.
And sometimes the talent won't always stop. So you're standing there for hours, not being able to go to the bathroom, or
Yeah.
you're literally standing there, you're not allowed to move. And sometimes you won't even get the talent. So
Got it. Okay.
yeah, it's not always easy. And then after that, you can be like, what a waste of time. You stood there for so long. You came away with nothing.
Yeah.
So I'd say that that's kind of the busiest time. But at the moment, things are actually quite quiet. I think summer tends
Yeah.
to slow down a bit. Yeah, I don't think I've actually got any interviews next week.
Do you like the environment of the red carpet, or do you like that personal room of just that style of interview?
For me, 100%
Okay.
being sat down in a room
Okay.
with talent, that that's where I feel like I'm most comfortable as well, because you can really get to know someone. I know that a lot of the time my interviews are only 5 minutes long,
Right.
which is crazy to think
Yes.
that you have to almost force a relationship in such a small amount of time and get the best out of someone in that short amount of time. But red carpets, they're even worse. They're literally like one question.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might not
Yeah.
even get a question in. Um, and you're standing there for a long time. It's, you know, you're behind a metal barrier. It's not
Yeah.
the most comfortable of places.
Yes.
It's funny, friends and family will always be so excited about red carpets, and you're like, it's actually
Yes.
not glamorous at all. That's the reality, is just so unglamorous. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love doing junkets, which are more like sit down
Yes.
interviews where you actually, you know your set time and you can
Yes.
prepare for it. Whereas a red carpet, you kind of don't really know how it's going to go.
I think it is so funny. I think everybody thinks red carpets are glamorous, but I think it's
Mm,
hearing you say it, and then I'm pretty sure if you ask celebrities as well, celebrities will say it is not glamorous at all because you're standing there having your picture taken by a million photographers. But I think it's like for us, it's the dresses, it's what we perceive as glitz and glamour, is what we think is fabulous, and then everybody's like, it's really not.
no, it's really not.
And I think it's so funny because that's what we envision, like that's Hollywood. That's what we envision as the best of the best. And it is, but I think it's like it's not as fun as everybody thinks it is.
Yeah, no, completely.
I think you have this immense amount of confidence. Whenever I watch your interviews, I have to stop and watch them because I'm like, you are just full into the interview. How do you have where do you get your confidence when you're sitting down in front of these celebrities and, like you said, 5 minutes to be able to ask your questions?
Firstly, that's so nice to hear, because I don't think I'm confident at
Oh my
all. And I
God.
certainly don't feel it when I do an interview. I still get so nervous, even having done so many.
Yes.
I think because I'm such a perfectionist.
Okay.
Um, and I'm very hard on myself. I don't think I've ever done an interview and thought that's gone really well. There's
Okay.
always something,
Yes.
always, that
Yes.
I'm walk away and I'm not happy with.
Yeah.
But I think that if I guess it shows that you care.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know. I don't think I'm confident at all, but it's just, I don't know, trying to see them as just a normal person, and preparation is always key as well. If I feel prepared and like I know what I want to ask, and I'm confident with my questions, and I think I've got good questions, then
Yes.
I'll feel more comfortable.
Okay. Okay. Now, I do this all the time, and I actually have my pencil sitting right here. Like when I'm on calls, I feel like I have to have something in my hands, like as a nervous thing. Do you have like a nervous, like a bouncing of the legs or anything like that? Is there something that you do or self-consciously do?
I don't know. Sometimes I'll hold a pen,
Okay.
but I try not to.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what I do that's like a really bad habit, because there have been stuff where I'm like, I can't do that.
My
Um,
my team will say it too. They'll see me and I'll just be sitting here with like a pencil in my hand, like rubbing the eraser, and it's like my anxiety, nervousness thing when I'm just sitting on calls, or even like I have it here when I'm doing recordings, because I just sometimes I need just something in my hand just to be able to.
Totally. What I will say is I have a really bad habit of looking down at my questions sometimes. And I know my questions, and I just do it out of nervousness, because it's like your comfort if you know that they're there in front of you and you're literally reading them, which is really bad. I really try not to. I really try and look at the person that I'm interviewing when I'm talking to them, but I do have a tendency sometimes, if I'm not feeling confident, to look down. And after the interview I'll be really annoyed and be like, why was I looking down so much? That wasn't necessary.
Well, I think it's hard too in the Zoom world we're in sometimes.
Mm.
Like even right next to you right now, I have my questions up and things like that. You're still trying to stare at you, like I'm still trying to stare at you while also not trying to look at the questions. So it is so hard to kind of eye focused,
Yeah, I
make
know.
eye contact without it looking like you're looking somewhere else.
Yeah. No, I need to get better at that. But I'm trying. I'm trying.
I find myself too, I'll do a lot of or likes. I was just editing a last week's episode, and I was like, my God, I think I can count on multiple hands how many times I just said like in that one segment. And it drives me crazy to the point you were just making. I'm like, I've got to do better about some of the things that I say or do when I'm in these interviews. So it's a continuous process of learning and trying to like practice when I'm doing these.
The thing is, no one notices. Like, you're your worst critic.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think what, like you were saying, it's the perfectionism that comes out in each of us as we're putting these things together, because it's going out on on our faces, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Is there been a celebrity that you have not interviewed that is on your list that you want to?
I have a big list. Do you know
Okay.
what? I'm gonna get it up.
Okay. Because as you're doing that, I just want to, you've talked to, like we were talking about Olivia Colman multiple times,
Mm-hmm.
Diane Keaton, Stanley Tucci, Jennifer Gardner, Hugh Grant, Dame Judy Dench, my heart. I absolutely love her. Emma Thompson, Jamie Lee Curtis, Sam Claflin, Lenny Kravitz. I
Cool.
those are just some of the people that you've talked to. It doesn't even scratch the surface. So I want to hear.
Um, yeah, there's quite a few people that I'm desperate to talk to that I haven't. Okay, I'd say top of my list, number one is Kate Blanchett. I'm a huge fan. I love her. I was devastated when we didn't get time with her for Tar. I thought that was going to be my moment. And I also know that I just know that she's someone that I'd get on with, because she's a real woman's woman.
Yes.
So I'm desperate to talk to her. Who else is like top?
I,
Meryl Streep.
oh God, yeah. I think you had
Um,
a blast on Ocean's 8 doing Kate Blanchett and Sandra Bullock together. What an
oh
interview
my God.
that would have been.
That would have been
Oh,
the dream,
yeah.
literally the dream.
Yes.
Who else? I'd love to interview Andrew Garfield. I really like him.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Drew Barrymore, I'm a bit obsessed with,
I
but
cannot
she's like
stay
doing
off
the interviewing now. I'm obsessed.
I cannot stay off her TV show or her TikTok. I mean, she
I'm
is
addicted.
fabulous.
I love her.
Fabulous.
Salma Hayek.
Okay, that's
I
another.
would love to interview her. There's so many. Nicole Kidman, Scarlett Johansson, Jennifer Lawrence,
Yes.
all the girlies.
Yes. Yes. Well, when I said Stanley Tucci's name, you you showed your love for him. I am an absolute fangirl for him. I just have to ask what that experience was like getting to talk to, because I think he is one of the absolute coolest people in the world.
So it's actually my second time interviewing him
Okay.
because I interviewed him for a film he did with Colin Firth.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was called, but it was really good.
Yeah.
And they were both on Zoom though, both times I've interviewed him, which is a shame that it's not been in
Yes.
person. But the second time I interviewed him was for Citadel, which was quite
Yes.
recently. And he was so divine, just such a nice man,
Yes.
like a lovely, lovely man. And then at the end, he said it was so nice talking to you. I was like, oh, Stanley.
I want to sit down with him and eat a bowl of pasta with him and
Yes, yes.
absolutely I just want to walk around Italy with him.
He is just an angel.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite then? Is it Stanley?
I love Stanley. Um, I'm a big Robert Downey Jr. fan. I absolutely love his story, and I've grown up in the Marvel universe. Um, oh gosh, but I think Stanley's up there. I think he's
Mm,
Yeah, I think he's my number one. I loved his book. I read that in like 2 days flat because I just could not put that down. But he's fantastic.
yeah, he's so good. And he's done so much. Like you forget how many movies he's been in. It's ridiculous.
Yes, yes. Well, one of my favorite interviews that you did was with Jennifer Coolidge, and you asked her if she was going to be the next James Bond. And I loved the question because I had watched the movie that you were interviewing her for, and I was like, my God, she'd be fantastic. I think she would be absolutely perfect.
She's so fun. I'd love to see her as James Bond. Oh my God, can you imagine?
Oh my
She
God, it'd
just,
be fantastic.
I love how she just goes along with it. Like she just gets it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like
And
she
she's
just
just
knows she has
her.
fun and
Yeah.
she's just great. I love her.
I loved I mean, this was her year of it just being on stage at award season and everything. And every time she got up on stage, you never knew what she was going to say. You never knew what was going to come out of her mouth. So every time you were just in for the ride with her, and I mean, it was hysterical, but it was so much fun to get to hear her story as well because she tied in pieces of that, and I love her so much.
I think the day after I spoke to her for Shotgun Wedding, I think that was the morning, because obviously she was in America. I think that was the morning after the Golden Globes.
Okay, okay,
I feel like she was really, really tired and hungover. She was still great, but she had like a crazy night. And I remember the PRs were like, don't ask questions about the Golden Globes because I think they wanted everything to be about the
the movie,
film.
yeah,
Which was fine anyway because we had to hold on to our footage. It was embargoed, so it wouldn't have made sense for us to be
yes,
talking about
yes,
something that happened a few weeks ago. But I did when I got on the call. I did obviously congratulate her. And she was such a sweetheart. I said to her, I was like, I cut it out the main edit, but I
yeah.
said like, this has made my year. The
Yeah,
fact that you've won,
her.
and she loved it.
I love her. It's been her year. I mean, I think last year and then the first half of this year, I'm like Jennifer Coolidge. I mean, what was it? It was the Coolidge Renaissance, or
Mm-hmm.
I was like, live it up, Jennifer, live it
Yeah,
up.
I need to see more of her.
We've been talking about it. You only have a short amount of time, 5 minutes or so in these interviews. How do you get the most out of every interview? How do you what's you walking in, sitting down afterwards?
Yeah, it's quite stressful when you've only got 5 minutes because sometimes that can be even less. Sometimes they say it's 5 minutes and then I get my footage and it's actually 3.5. It's like,
Okay.
that is so,
Peter.
such limited time. So I'll always, if it's in person, I'll always walk in and be like, hi, nice to meet you. I'll always like say something nice
Yes.
about the project, like, oh, they were amazing, or I really enjoyed it. And then kind of go straight into it. It's really, really quick process. And then I'll always prioritize my questions. So make sure that they're in a good order. So the ones that I know should hopefully get a good answer or do well,
Yeah.
higher up. Sometimes I've been in situations where I've like run out of questions, and it's just a case of like me trying to think
Yes.
on the spot of stuff. But yeah, it's always better when I've got longer. Like 10 minutes is always great. And then
Yeah.
sometimes I'll have 20, very rarely if they come
Okay.
to our studio.
Okay.
I think the last like long interview I did was with Sam Claflin, and it just
Yeah.
feels so much more natural.
Yeah.
It's so much easier, and it's just so much easier to bounce off each other when you've got that time.
Yes.
And it's just an easy conversation. It makes for a better interview. So I'd love to do longer interviews, but it's just not possible when you're dealing with such big
Yes.
names.
Now, when I do my research, try to come up with questions. You were just talking about it when you've had some cases where you do run out of questions and you're trying to think on your feet. Do you like having your set of questions, or do you like having the ability where I have 6 questions here to ask you, but I love to have space where if you say something, we can take the conversation wherever it goes. Do you like having that ability?
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like with my interviews, I don't really have that opportunity
Yeah,
to even do that because they're so quick.
yeah,
Um, and then say if I have got a long interview, I will prepare like
okay,
way more questions.
okay,
So I always feel like I am like very prepared. Whereas there are other journalists, like I've got other friends who don't really write questions and they kind of just
go in.
go along with it. But I think as well, there's so much pressure now for content to like for our content to go viral. So
Oh,
it's like trying to
absolutely.
think of those questions that you know are gonna get really good reactions.
Yes, yeah,
Um, so I
got
don't
it.
know. It's more conversational when you have the ability to think on your feet more and let the
Yeah,
conversation go somewhere else.
yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen
Short
often.
period of time.
Yeah.
We were talking about it in the beginning. You obviously watch the project that you're getting ready to interview on. How much research outside of just watching the film do you get into? It's one of my favorite parts when I'm getting to interview someone is the research, because I call it going down the rabbit holes.
Yeah.
How far down the rabbit holes do you go?
It's funny because sometimes I'll do an interview for a series and
Yes.
I will get so into the series where I literally like I
Yeah.
have to finish it before the interview. But most of the time, because of, I've got so much going on that I don't have time to like finish the series. So if I'm doing an interview, normally I'll watch one episode,
Right.
sometimes two or three. But I think it happened recently when I did the interviews for Beef, which is on Netflix.
Yes.
I
Yes.
was like, I have to finish this. I have to. And I literally put all my work aside. I was like, I just sat there for hours and
Yes.
finished it all in like 2 days. And I think there were 10 episodes or something. They were only half an hour long episodes, but I had to finish it. I got so into it. And I love it when that happens as well. It was the same with Sam Claflin when he came in for Daisy Jones and the Six, which I really
Yes.
enjoyed. I said to him, I was like, so, I watch a lot of stuff when I do interviews, and I was like, this one I'm finishing. I was like, I love it. I was like, so you've done your job. But yeah, I love it when I get into it.
You get hooked.
I actually try not to watch a million interviews that they've
Okay.
already done because I don't want to steal questions, and I
Yeah,
feel like it's very tempting to like, oh,
absolutely.
so I try not to all the time. But sometimes I do. I don't know. It kind of depends.
Yeah. I think I do the same thing, quite honestly. If I see someone that has uh, been on a podcast before, I won't listen to the podcast, but I like to just have the knowledge of the topic of what
Mm,
they've talked about, or where the conversation had gone to, because I don't want to go in that direction either. I don't want to talk about the same topic, because sometimes it's just still a boring conversation.
mm.
It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tempting.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not, listen, it's not a bad thing.
No.
But yeah, sometimes I'll watch loads of stuff before an interview, sometimes I don't. But I
Yeah.
like to like get excited about the person that I'm interviewing.
Yeah.
So I'll often like watch like a lot of their movies that week or
Yeah.
something to like refresh my memory.
Yes.
Like before I interviewed Jennifer Garner, obviously I've seen it a million times, 13 going on 30. I had to watch it again just before the interview. Yeah, so I like to get excited. It
Yeah.
makes it more like, I don't know, feel
Yeah.
special.
Yes. And how many of us didn't grow up on 13 going on 30 with Jennifer Garner?
Exactly. It's iconic.
It's like it's part of our childhood and growing up. Um, my last question for you, Olivia, is just what inspires you?
Oh, Lady Gaga. She inspires me.
I love it.
I just think she is the best person on the planet. I've got a picture of her behind me.
Love it.
Yeah, she's inspired me since such a young age, just her fearlessness, her creativity, everything that she does. If I could only be half of what she is,
Yeah.
I'll like constantly like see videos of her talking about making dreams come true and how it is possible.
Yes.
I just think she's such a talent and there's no one like her.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
she's the person that inspires me on a daily basis.
She's revolutionized so much just in terms of being yourself,
Mm-hmm.
not shutting down who you are, who other people are. I think it's so powerful what she's done for the world, for our generation. It's definitely, she's been a massive supporter of being open minded,
Mm.
and not closing any doors on anybody or anything.
Yeah. And I love how she's just like maintained that throughout her whole career and is just unashamedly her.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't she's my person. I'm obsessed. I'm literally looking at like cards with Lady Gaga opposite me, like a poster. Like there's so much Gaga all over my flat. She's everywhere.
Now, will there be Lady Gaga at the wedding?
Oh my God, of course. I'm gonna be walking into a Gaga song. I'm gonna be walking
Thank
into
you.
Marry the Nights.
Oh my gosh. How epic. I
My
can't.
my poor fiance. He gets it. He's in a three-way relationship.
There you go.
He
There you go.
gets it at
At
this
least he
point.
knows. At least
Yeah,
he knows what to
exactly.
wear. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Olivia, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk with me today. This has been my fangirl moment, because
Oh, thank
I
you.
love your interviews, and so this has been such a pleasure to talk to you, and I can't wait to continue to follow your journey and your interviews and more.
Thank you so much. You're such an amazing interviewer, by the way.
Okay.
You really are. You're so good.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.